Hey there, I'm Maddie, and today we are going to talk about symbols used in paganism. I'm going to focus today on some of the more recognizable symbols, the more commonly used ones. I will mention who they are used most commonly by, but it is very important to keep in mind that it is not exclusive to any one form of paganism. A lot of these symbols are used across the board, and a couple of them are actually used in Christianity as well. It has a lot to do with the culture contact throughout history, as well as the modernization of paganism today, in that a lot of the modern day neo-paganism is pretty inclusive of various types of paganism. Rather than being a bit more reconstructionalist and sticking to only what we think maybe would have been historically correct, because there does seem to be a lot of gray area around how these people would worship. These are multiple groups of people who did not write a lot of things down. And so the modernized form is using what information we do have and applying it to more modern constructs. While neo-paganism does tend to be a little bit more eclectic, even some people who claim to be in one particular type of paganism may use these other symbols, again, just because of the historical culture contact. These symbols would have historically been seen as they branched out and affected other areas and other groups of people. But for now, let's jump right in. The pentacle and the pentagram are quite iconic. However, perhaps it's in a slightly negative way, as Christianity does have a slight interpretation of this as being satanic. On its own, the pentacle and the pentagram have never meant anything demonic. That is a Christian belief. But first, the difference between a pentacle and a pentagram. A pentagram is, of course, the five-pointed star, such as here. But the pentagram, whether it is right side up or upside down, still does not have a satanic meaning. The 5 points of the star represent water, earth, fire, and air, with the very top of the pentagram being spirits. This is a very protective symbol. And while it is right side up, it is representing the spirit overcoming the more material structure of our reality. So the meaning of it when it is switched and upside down is more meaning that the materialistic worlds is placed above your spirituality. So it's really a matter of perception. And on their own, without additional symbols or other imagery, they do not mean anything satanic. The pentacle, however, has a circle around it. That visually is the only difference. However, the difference in meaning is bringing more unity, more balance, and wholeness to the water, earth, fire, air, and spirit. This is a very great symbol for protection. So when it is used in spell work, it in a way can stop any negative energy, negative spirits, or anything else from messing with the working you're trying to do. So this is very commonly used in Wicca, of course. It is also often a representation of someone's faith to be wearing a pentacle. But like I said, it's not exclusive to one particular type of being pagan. Our next symbol is Mjolnir, or Thor's Hammer. This is, of course, going to be based on Norse mythology, so it is often used in Norse paganism. It is a symbol of strength and power, reflective of Thor himself. Norse paganism is pretty polytheistic, so a lot of people who do not specifically venerate Thor can still wear Thor's hammer. This symbol probably would have been worn to show someone's faith and not necessarily show a connection to one specific god. Thor is very much an everyman's kind of god. He is also representative of agriculture, a little bit of fertility. He represents many things. He is not simply the god of thunder. I did want to note here that yes, this symbol would have been used at one point to represent some forms of hate groups. However, it has been taken off the list by the Anti-Defamation League. That is a possibility though. That's just not inside the scope of my knowledge. Because the people I see using this symbol are using it to show their faith. And that is, of course, an all-inclusive faith. But this isn't something I wanted to talk very much on, so we're going to move right along here. Now again, I mentioned that culture contact. So historically, there were some Norse pagans who might have been wearing Mjolnirs. They definitely had this sort of design that we are using in modern days. Having done research and listened to professionals who are looking at these artifacts, it seems to be very, very possible that they are using it in a similar way we do now, to represent our faith, to be able to recognize other people in the same faith. And historically, this probably would have been the culture contact with the Christians. If these people would have seen Christians wearing a small cross, it is very likely that pagans would have wanted to do the same thing. Next we have Triquetra or Triquetra. I've heard both. For this video, I'm going to stick with Triquetra. The pronunciation confusion around this symbol may also have to do with cultural contact, as this one is very well known to have been found throughout different forms of paganism. Triquetra was also used and seen by Norse pagans. While Norse pagans were using it, it represented 3 of the 9 realms. This is a little bit more of a Celtic symbol, and its Celtic roots have also influenced its use in Wicca. I've seen them used throughout the board for different forms of paganism, but the Triquetra represents kind of this threefold law. It may deal with a threefold promise to love, honor, and protect, also mind, body, and spirit. It also stands for the triple goddess, especially in its association with Wicca. It represents past, present, and future. The numerology of 3 is just such a powerful number. The Triquetra also represents eternity and kind of a mystery. Because it is depicted without an end or a beginning, it really represents this kind of unknown, but this is also a very protective symbol. This symbol, however, was taken over by Christianity and St. Patrick in particular, and so the imagery when used with 3 fish is actually a Christian symbol. The Triskil or Triskel, I'm going to be saying Triskil, has more in common with the Triquetra than it does differences. It represents the same sort of numerology with the number 3. It has the same general associations, even the triple goddess. However, this is a little bit more of a feminine symbol. It is life-giving and representative of the female womb in that way, and its ability to create. It may also deal with the generating of power, but again, this is a little bit more female connotations on this side. Each one of these symbols is used in paganism today. Some may be more popular with specific groups of pagans. However, I've definitely seen multiple of these symbols being used by different groups of pagans. So there really is this kind of eclectic use because of the historical culture contacts and the modernization of neo-paganism today. These are protective symbols that can be used in your workings. They can be carved onto objects. They can be drawn out so that you can include it in something that you are burning, if you are burning herbs and using something in a spell. They can be used to protect you in your everyday life, or if you are doing something specific that you want protection for. such as starting up a large working and you don't want any sort of negativity to affect the outcome. These symbols are also often seen similar to wearing a Christian cross, either by tattoos or jewelry. Pagans like to be able to signal other pagans. Some of these symbols are more discreet than others, but often my own experience in wearing something like this is that you start to find other people. You start to be able to have that conversation and get to know what other people believe. And it's a really fun icebreaker. With the rise of modern day paganism, these symbols are becoming more commonplace, but it is important to know what these symbols mean, I think, before you start wearing them. And that's all I have for now, friends. I'm going to do a more in-depth video of more obscure symbols in the future, but I thought this was a good place to start. Just as a reminder, if you like my content, please be sure to like and subscribe. And if you don't already know, I do have a Patreon that includes, at its lowest tier, a pagan book club where we can analyze the context of these books and compare the historic uses to the uses of modern day. I'll see you next time. Bye!